Donald Trump claims he's doing very well in China, despite warnings his trade war could cause recession and blasts interesting advice from opponents after NYT columnist lectures juvenile, unstable U.S. President sniffs on Twitter about interesting advice he's getting on China, claims his opponents don't know what victory looks like, even as an economic recession looms over trade-related market uncertainties. Trump wants to curb China's worst trade abuses, and is using import tariffs as his weapon of choice in an undeclared economic war with Beijing. We're doing very well with China, he insists. New Times columnist Thomas Friedman lectured him in an essay as a juvenile, unstable U.S. president actually enacting trade policy via Twitter. Be David Martusco, use. Political editor for DailyMail.com, published 1439 British Summer Time, the 28th of August 2019, updated 1542 British Summer Time, the 28th of August 2019. Donald Trump shoved back against his China policy critics on Wednesday after reading the latest New York Times column by Thomas Friedman, who mocked him as juvenile and unstable for pursuing a confrontational trade battle with Beijing. A White House aide said the president had read Friedman's essay, published online Tuesday night, in which he argues Trump should give China a 6-month holiday from all import tariffs in order to foster trust. Trump, who nicknamed Friedman the Chin this summer, and mocked him for groveling during an unexpected phone call, didn't name him. So interesting to read and see all of the free and interesting advice I am getting on China, from people who have tried to handle it before and failed miserably. In fact, they got taken to the cleaners, Trump tweeted Wednesday. We're doing very well with China. This has never happened to them before. In a July column, Friedman called Trump a racist, divisive, climate change-denying, woman-abusing jerk. Donald Trump insists that his China trade war is proceeding in a helpful direction despite global market jitters that could provoke an economic recession in the U.S. The president tweeted Wednesday that he's dismissing all of the free and interesting advice I am getting on China. Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are locked in a trade dispute that has seen new or expanded tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of imports and exports. New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman has been critical of Trump's economic, immigration and foreign policy decisions. Trump lashed out on China after Friedman lectured him in an essay. In his latest column, he argues that the U.S. and China are perched on a dangerous cliff, and that an East-West economic war would mean the world as we've known it for the last 4 decades is going to be replaced with something much uglier, less prosperous, less stable and less able to meet global challenges. Friedman writes that Trump should tell Xi Jinping he will suspend tariffs for 6 months on billions of dollars in exports to the U.S. and stop tweeting about him, giving him time to rein in China's worst trade abuses. Trump has instead upped the ante at every turn, repeatedly raising tariffs in a global game of chicken with the only economy big enough to rival America's. In the latest episode, the president has repeatedly suggested that top-level negotiators from the United States and China were in direct contact about a way to wind down trade tensions. Beijing has signaled that it hasn't happened. China called last night and said, "Let's get back to the table," he told reporters Monday at the G7 summit in France. "So we'll be getting back to the table," Geng Shuang, a spokesperson from China's foreign ministry, later said he was not aware of a phone call between the two sides. But Trump has pressed ahead. "I think they want to make a deal very badly," he said Monday, citing downward spirals in China's employment statistics. "I think they very much want to make a deal. And the longer they wait, the harder it is to put it back, if it can be put back at all. Sir, I believe they want to do a deal. I think they want to make a deal. I'm not sure they have a choice," he added. "And I don't say that as a threat. I don't think they have a choice." In the meantime, the United States, which has never collected 10 cents from China, will, in a fairly short period of time, be over $100 billion in tariffs. Trump said Monday at the G7 summit in France that Beijing's officials had called his top trade people and said, "Let's get back to the table." China has denied that happened. President Trump accused China of taking advantage of the United States on trade and intellectual property in a tweet on August 23 before announcing his new tariff rules. The increasingly bitter tariff dispute deepened on Friday, with both sides leveling more tariffs on each other's exports. Trump announced on Friday that an additional duty would be imposed on some $550 billion of targeted Chinese goods. About $250 billion of goods and products from China, currently being taxed at 25%, will be taxed at 30% beginning on October 1. Another $300 billion of Chinese imports are due to be taxed at 15%, instead of the previously proposed 10%, starting next Sunday. Trump's tweets came hours after China unveiled retaliatory tariffs of 5 to 10% on $75 billion worth of U.S. goods, and announced it would resume 25% tariffs on American cars and 5% tariffs on car components as of December 15. The president claimed last month that Thomas Friedman kissed my A on a phone call but was nasty to me. In the New York Times, the president is a longtime reader of Friedman's economic and trade analysis, but lashed out at him last month for calling him a racist. Thomas the Chin Friedman, a weak and pathetic sort of guy, writes columns for the New York Times in between rounds of his favorite game, golf, wrote Trump, who plays 18 holes every weekend he can. 2 weeks ago, while speaking to a friend on his cell phone, I unfortunately ended up speaking to Friedman. We spoke for a while and he could not have been nicer or more respectful to your favorite president, me. Then I saw the column he wrote, Trump will be re-elected, won't he? Trump recalls. He called me a racist, which I'm not. The president claimed Friedman was really nasty to me in his average IQ. Columns, kissed my A. On the call, phony, read more, let's block ads. Why?